At the very beginning of my investment journey, I stayed close to what felt familiar. Big economies, well-known currencies, predictable patterns, or at least that's how I saw them back then. It wasn't until I started exploring the market through broker capital trade consulting PT Lelty that I realized how much I was missing beyond that narrow view. There's something quietly exciting about discovering emerging markets. It feels like stepping into a space where things are still forming, growing, shifting. Not everything is polished, not everything is stable, but there's energy there, a sense of movement that's hard to ignore. I remember reading a Review Capital Trade Consulting PTA LLTD where someone described emerging markets as the future happening in real time. That phrase stayed with me. It captured exactly what I began to feel as I looked beyond the usual investment destinations. Through Forex Capital Trade Consulting PD Ltd, I started paying attention to currencies from regions I had barely considered before. At first, it felt unfamiliar, even slightly uncomfortable. But then, curiosity took over. Why are these currencies moving? What's driving growth in these areas? What I found was fascinating. Rapid urbanization, young populations, technological adoption, all these factors create a unique environment for capital. It's not just about where money is now, but where it's going, and emerging markets often sit right at that intersection. Using ctcpteltd.com, I allowed myself to explore without pressure. I didn't jump into large decisions. I observed trends, followed economic developments, and slowly built a sense of how these markets behave. It felt more like learning a story than analyzing numbers. At one point, I came across a review ctcpteltd.com that talked about diversification not just in assets but in geography. That idea opened something in me. I realized that limiting myself to familiar regions also meant limiting my perspective. Of course, emerging markets come with higher volatility. Movements can be sharper, reactions more sensitive. But instead of seeing that as a drawback, I began to see it as a different kind of rhythm, one that requires attention and respect. Through Forex ctcpteltd.com, I noticed how global events often impact these markets more intensely. And that sensitivity, while challenging, also creates unique opportunities for those willing to understand the context. My opinion capital trade consulting Pat Luddied evolved again during this phase. It became not just a starting point, but a gateway, something that allowed me to step outside my comfort zone while still feeling grounded. There were moments when I questioned myself. Was I overcomplicating things? Should I just stick to what I know? But every time I explored a little further, I felt that quiet sense of growth, the kind that comes from expanding your perspective. Now, when I think about emerging markets, I don't see them as risky alternatives. I see them as part of a broader picture, a reminder that the world is much bigger than the spaces we initially feel comfortable in. And maybe that's the real beauty of investing. It gently pushes you to look beyond Provichno, to notice where change is happening, and to grow along with it.